Nathaniel, what is it that makes you guys different? I think most South Africans would say there are two departments that function at a premium in this country. One is the Reserve Bank and one is SARS. Is it leadership? Is it a mission? What is it that makes you guys stand out?
I think you've touched on one part of it, which is the leadership side. I think there is a lot to be said about the leadership of the former commissioner, the current minister. So that's the one part. I think he has been able to build a formidable team around him. In fact, at all levels of the organization, by the way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that it is not a quick fix. I think it's important that everybody understands that it is a journey, all right? Of changing the culture, of changing how people look at things, and so on. So the former commissioner had about 10 years of going through the motions of doing this. And then the third one, I think, would be the strategy, you know, and the fact that strategy and the implementation and execution of strategy really depends on the people that you have in the organization. You can have the loftiest of plans. If you're not going to have the people that will be able to implement these things, execute them with the discipline and the focus, you're really never going to get anywhere.
It always comes down to people, doesn't it? In any business.
Absolutely.
And yours is a business. It's
Yes.
a business of generating income for the government.
Yes. And I always say, Jeremy, that, you know, I get to, maybe within the organization as an executive, I'm amongst the very few that get to interact with our people as regularly as I do, because I go through to the branch offices and so on. And you get to some of these areas, you find that people are in very tough conditions. I mean, we don't have the best of equipment and facilities and so on, but you get people in a very tough environment. And when you start talking to them, you get a different sense of commitment, a different sense of purpose, you know, the excitement of waking up in the morning and going to work. I think also that you build that over a period of time, painstakingly working at it, and you'll get it right eventually.
Let's come back to some of the changes that have happened as a result of the recent budget speech. A lot of people going, whoa, hang on, now you wanted to take money away from gambling. That's a bit of a contentious one.
Yes, absolutely. The gambling tax is a withholding tax that is being proposed. That is going to kick in terms of gambling winnings that are above 25,000 at a 15% mark. It is important to know that other countries have already started doing this, including the US for that matter. And we're not necessarily out of kilter with the general direction that other economies are taking. And therefore we're saying that gambling winnings, anything above 25,000 will be subjected to a withholding tax of 15%.
Any other ones that we need to just be aware of?
There are quite a couple of them, but if one just touches on the key one, that individuals this year are going to get a lion's share in terms of the budget. Okay, there is a relief of 8.1 billion that's been given to individuals. Now, that happens in a form of either the changes in the tax brackets that change, you know, and other forms of relief that are there, including the rebate that has now been increased, and more importantly, the fact that there is a rebate, an additional or third rebate that has been introduced this time around, which really speaks to anybody that is older than 75. Obviously, it does not affect us. But
me in just a few years, yeah. Now, we've spoken about the efficiencies. Let's talk about the inefficiencies, and I'll give you a classic example here. Yeah. I have, in the last 18 months, been engaged by 3 different branches of SARS: Benoni, Roodepoort, and Woodmead. And I think to myself, do you guys not talk to each other? Are there not computers that... Is there a central base? Can you go back to SARS, your office now, and put in my ID number and find out everything about me? And if so, why am I getting requests for different things from different branches of SARS?
Yeah, very, very important. Previously, Jeremy, what used to happen is that we registered taxpayers in terms of where they stayed or their office, where they registered initially. So I was registered initially as a taxpayer in the Germiston office. So my file was in the Germiston office.
Okay.
Right? Over the past 4 years, we've moved away from the physical file and the location of an office to a system that allows us to access your information from wherever we are. All right? Now, again, it is a journey. It's going to take a bit of time because people still operate within that mentality that you are registered in the Germiston office, so therefore you are my case, I deal with you. Whereas actually you can be contacted by anybody from anywhere. The system has been designed such that you just see every transaction that you would have had or engagement that would have had with you. Whether you access it from the contact center or from the branch office, it should really be the same. The inefficiencies that may happen as a result of people calling from different areas could be as a result of the different tax types. I don't know whether that is the case with you, but you may find that a particular area of the business is looking after VAT, another one and after provisional tax, and so on and so on. So we're still moving towards integrating
an integrated system.
Yes, so that you see Jeremy as a taxpayer, and you see every other interaction from just your normal queries to the type of taxes that you interact with with us on. And then we are able to then see one view. That's going to take time. Coupled with that is the issue of other information that we are going to start using from other service providers. So for instance, information from the credit bureaus, all right, that we're going to start using, information from the banks and so on. So in this integration process, we want to have a profile of a Jeremy. So this is your profile. We see everything about you. And that will also help us even in terms of the compliance side of things, because we can map your behavior. We can look at your profile. We can even create segments that are going to be specific to specific taxpayers and meet their specific needs.
What do I need to disclose to you? Because there's this whole thing about tax avoidance and also being able to not have to pay certain taxes if you can get them deducted.
Yes.
What do I need to disclose to you? It's now March.
Yeah.
What do I have to have in my back pocket to do my e-filing?
Yes.
Obviously, I've got to have my retirement annuity certificates from wherever I've got those invested, my bank interest charges,
medical contributions.
Yeah.
Particularly where it comes to medical, it would be expenses, out-of-pocket expenses, as they are referred to. So anything that was not paid by the medical aid that you have had to pay out of your pocket. So proof of that. Any other income, rental income that you may be earning, or shares and so on and so on and so on. So any income, I mean, if you look at the letter of the law, really, it's really any income that is accrued to you or that you have received.
And this is worldwide?
Worldwide.
Because I'm registered as a taxpayer here.
Yes.
So if I, for example, own a property which is rented out in the UK,
yes,
I have to declare that rental here.
Yes, depending on what double taxation agreements we have with the UK, but you still have to declare here. So that double taxation agreement will determine what you can deduct. Okay. All right, because it might have been deducted.
If I've been paying tax in the UK, I can deduct that from here.
From here, yeah. But it's anything that you've received as a resident of South Africa, you'll be taxed as a resident. So irrespective of the source of the income, because you are resident in South Africa, and there are formulas to determine, what is a resident and so on. But if you spend a certain number of days in South Africa,
you are a resident.
You are a resident in South Africa, and therefore you would be subjected to the tax. But for the majority of the people out there, you just need to have your RP5 certificate and make sure that your employer gives you that certificate, because it's like a receipt. This money has been deducted from your salary. And then you have all the others like medical and so on that you would have contributed throughout the year. Have those certificates, either do e-filing or walk into any of our branches. The nice thing about this is that the person who is sitting in the comfort of their living room and actually doing e-filing gets the same benefit as a person who walks into a branch office in terms of processing. So we're not necessarily going to say just because you don't have access to a computer, yours is going to take 3 more days to process than the person who's done it on e-filing. It actually goes into the same process going forward.
I'm just trying to think back to last year, my last tax return, which it's a fairly simple tax return. It's a RP5 and a few added certificates. I got that in on the first day that e-filing opened. I think it was in September last year.
Yeah.
And I had my refund in my bank account, I think it was about 3 days later.
Yeah.
Which I found incredibly impressive. It really was. Is that what you're aiming at?
That is what we're aiming at. In fact, Jeremy, it's quite interesting to note that there was a recent study that was done that compared us to about 10 other countries from a revenue administration point of view. We came third in terms of the processing, the speed of processing. Okay. Now, that's unheard of. If you take into account that for us to even get to that stage, it's taken us about, 4 or 5 years in terms of the speed of processing. But if you take into account also that these technologies have been around for some time, so we, are getting really the tail end of this because we're just coming in and we're just getting the technologies that have been
And it's
there.
a catch-up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other guys have had to go through the teething problems and so on.
So we pick up their benefits.
So we're picking up the benefits, and it's really good for South Africans.
Nathaniel, thank you very much for joining us. Are you my friend?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Are you compliant?
I'm absolutely compliant. There's one thing I don't do. I don't mess with SARS. I don't mess with SARS.